I'm not
All
as
right.
pretty as you two, so I got to work
And
on that.
that's all right. But we are live. Welcome to Cocktails and Calamity, the show where we get inebriated and discuss the fallout of technology, politics, and the social transformations shaping humanity's global future. We've got an awesome show for you today. I've got myself, Michael Mataluni, here with Brooks Lopez and Kristen Mataluni. And we are going to be discussing the Megalopolis, the city of the future. And so before we do that, though, we're going to get to some current events. And before we do that, Kristen, why don't you share with us what our cocktail is for today?
Let's see. We named it Citrus City. Wait, let me get it. See how pretty I made the orange? Nope, can't do it that way. Anyway.
You can see mine. You can see mine here. It's gorgeous.
So yours is completely clear.
Yes.
It is.
Oh, so I put some real citrus in the...
Okay. Yeah, I just, when I made simple syrup yesterday, I steamed orange and lemon peel.
Ooh.
So I've got calamidines. There's 12 different citrus trees within 15 feet of my property line. So
nice.
Yeah.
So you're gonna give the whole recipe there?
Right. So it was 2 ounces gin and an ounce of Grand Marnier, and some citrus simple syrup or citrus juice is what you went with, Brooks, and soda.
And you made
crisp.
You made your own simple syrup?
Are you asking me or?
I thought you made a simple syrup, Kristen.
Yes.
So I didn't make a simple syrup.
I already explained it.
I made a fresh juice mixture of what we had available. And mine is gin. What kind of gin do you guys use?
I used the Empress gin. Have you tried it before?
I have not. No, that sounds awesome.
Very good. It comes out like a violet color, which doesn't show up once you mix it, but it's kind of floral rather than juniper-y.
Violet, you're turning violet.
Yeah.
Always will bring me to Willy Wonka, right? Violet, you're turning violet.
Oh, right. I missed that the first time.
You're a blueberry. My daughter's a blueberry.
Yeah, so lots to cover today. Again, we're going to be discussing the future of cities here in this episode. And, we did a lot of research this week on not only the future of cities, what they could look like,
but the history of cities.
The history of cities. And, this is not the first time in history that we've had pandemics. And so we're going to discuss how those have affected cities in the past and what the unforeseen consequences have been. Before we get there, we've got quite a few current events to get to. First thing I want to talk about, did you have anything, Brooks, you want to hit on first, or?
No, I'll try to be the happy reserve, if I may again.
So we're trying to do something. We're trying to keep it light for you guys. Current events for 2020 have been pretty rough and brutal. So Brooks has been doing some research on some fun things that we can share with you, peppered throughout the show.
Well, and unfortunately for me, a lot of things that are fun and peppered throughout the show are books written by recent cohorts of our current president.
Yes. So maybe it won't be as light as.
No, it still will be. It'll be super light until you realize what they mean, and then it'll be less light.
Kristen, Tom wanted to know how many cocktails have you had today already so far?
None. Like a couple sips of this one. But I've had half of this monster.
That might do it. Tom says rough and brutal understatement. Yeah, it is. So let's start with the fires on the West Coast. It is. What? You have,
no. You go ahead. You go ahead. I put this in the newsletter because I thought this was such an absurd.
What?
Oh no! I was waiting for you to cut me off and hoping you would. No.
Oh wow!
It's such an absurd democracy, right? Like individuals who identify with this is my universe, this is my state. I get to just go burn it all down.
Oh, right? You're talking about the
how many individuals have set fires?
Well, and the couple who did the what was it, a gender reveal party?
Well, yes, and
And
that was accidental. I have like the local news reports of two different people who were intentionally caught setting fire to
You're
like
shitting
brush
me.
on the side of the road.
In California?
One was in California. I think the other one was in Washington that I noted.
Jesus. So
Um,
what were they doing? They were intentionally setting fires, like
yeah.
to like as arson, or they were just being.
Yes. Parkland, Washington, troopers with the Washington State Patrol on Thursday said they've arrested a second person for intentionally starting a brush fire in Pierce County. Troopers said someone saw a man setting fire to grass with a match near State Route 512 and State Route 7 and called police. Troopers arrived to the scene, chased the man,
Fucking
took him into
assholes.
custody.
Joseph said, so everyone is talking about the fire, but are they having a boy or a girl?
It's a boy. No one cares about his penis, according to
So
the
yeah,
mother.
it's pretty insane right
Yeah,
now.
pause. Gender reveal parties are not necessary for their children. White people, you can think of another excuse to have a party. And your kids would be better off if you're not putting pressure on them about.
Have a party, just don't use pyrotechnics, right? Like,
Yeah, it's
as someone who has literally been lit on fire by my own shitty pyrotechnics, please don't do it.
right.
It's easy. I'm an easy banner for all of that.
PSA from Brooks Lopez, who has been burned, literally burned, almost to death. Right?
Damn close. You guys want to see? You guys want to see what? Here, you know what? You future. Here's what my skin graft legs look like. You want that? You want your kids' legs to look like that? No, you don't. You don't.
That is a PSA coming from Brooks today.
Yeah,
Be careful with fires. Do not do that. Here's what's fucking mind blowing about this. So
Here, let me just interject real quick because my dad sent me the updated app for Oregon. So right now in Oregon so far, 863,000. Wait, 863. Okay, no, I don't know.
3,000 square
Yeah.
acres.
Can you get it? Yeah, 863,794 square acres. I don't know what the
Wait,
0.271 is.
that's Oregon alone?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I have a close friend and associate who's out in Oregon as well, besides Kristen's family, and she said they were almost boxed in. Like, they were afraid. The fires were coming from every direction, and the evacuation routes were on fire, and so there's literally nowhere to go. Some of these folks, they just have nowhere to go, and the fires are boxing them in. It's really, really bad situation. Not to mention, in Oregon, 5 of the fucking helicopters that are supposed to be putting out fires right now are in Afghanistan during the middle of fire season when they're needed the most in California.
They're doing training.
Oh, it's training? That's unbelievable. Oh, here's Amanda commenting now, who I was just referring to. 863,794 acres.
Exactly what.
That is extraordinary. God damn.
Yeah, I don't know why it gave me a point something at the end, but yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
no, you're right. You were right.
Fractions of acres.
Here's some interesting figures from California as well. So basically they have these names for these different areas in California. This one is called the LNU Lightning Complex, which is Sonoma, Lake, Napa Valley, Sonoma counties, has burned 314,000 acres. This was as of yesterday. I think I did this research the day before yesterday. So the numbers are even bigger now. It's the second largest on record. And they're approaching 2018 numbers. So 2018 was one of the worst fire seasons they've ever had. And we are well on the way to completely dwarfing that. It's a really scary situation.
But when you say LNU lightning numbers, that's a very particular region.
Yeah, that's what I said. It's Sonoma, Lake County, Napa Valley, and Salona counties.
Okay, yeah. Well, you said, like, I don't know where they get these names from, but it's a very particular region of, was that Northern California, right?
Yes. And then CZU, August Lightning Complex, is Santa Cruz, San Mateo, which has burned 63,000 acres. Again, these are of yesterday.
Okay.
The SCU Lightning Complex, of about 20 fires affecting locations in Santa Clara, Alameda, Contra Costa, San Joaquin, and Stanislaus counties, has consumed 291,000 acres, and it is just growing. It's unbelievable.
And then so the big take back that I saw was that the state of California was going to rescind their what would you call it? I guess
talking about like federal money, or what are you talking about?
no, it wasn't even federal money. They were going to give back to the tribes of California the regional chieftainship, I guess, to start doing brush fires and doing their best
control burns.
So they had not allowed the local tribes to do their tribal control burns for about 200 years now.
Really?
Yes.
Why would that be?
Well, because unfortunately, a bunch of white people thought that telling the natives of this nation that they didn't know what they were doing was going to go well.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah, just like build your house in the mountains and then get freaked out when a mountain lion eats your dog.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because you'll see, like, if you're perusing online and you're looking, and if you're looking at these fires in any sort of political lens, you're seeing people just battling back and forth. So you've got the right saying that the Democratic-run California has done a horrible job in fire management and continues to do a horrible job. And then you've got the left saying this is purely climate change driven, and we need to take action. And you've got both of these political sides battling each other. And the reality is it's much more complex.
Both, right?
Absolutely.
It's both and more. I mean, there's so much going on here. This was from National Geographic. It said the first regarding why we're seeing such catastrophic wildfires. It says first 100 years of misguided forest management aimed at total fire suppression has eliminated the role of natural fire on the landscape, allowing 2 to 4 times the normal amount of woody fuel to accumulate, even as the biggest, healthiest, most fire-resistant trees were being logged out. In addition, California's population has about doubled since 1970, from 20 million to 40 million, leading to unprecedented sprawl along what's called the Wild Land Urban Interface, WI, putting millions of more people in harm's way. And there's a lot more to it than that, but that's kind of a piece, an important piece of the puzzle.
So the indigenous burning they're typically known as broadcast burns. They tend to be ritualistic, right? But when I look at the tribes that would be in that area, they are some of the largest and most, at this point in time in the United States history, some of the most continuous tribes, right? So us in Florida, we have the Seminole tribe. They're very well off because of the areas that they own, right?
Well, and so would we be saying that the areas that they're going to be controlled burning now have different people's homes on them?
Well, no, they're not. What they're hoping to do is go into large forest areas and burn out the undergrowth, which is technically what our forest and wildlife.
Yeah, I don't understand the difference. Like,
are
you saying it's because the federal government hasn't been doing that on native land, and they told the natives they can't do it? Like, I don't understand.
It's a combination of both, right? So, particularly when we talk about California, there was a suppression put in which the native populations could not or were not allowed to go in and do their
regular burns. I think he came unplugged.
Oh.
Sorry, guys.
Keith just said that if he pulled you over, Brooks, he would be asking you to step out the car and walk the line right now.
What?
Well, that's what Tom thought about me for a minute.
I only heard walk the line.
Yeah, no, I just said Keith just commented if Brooks were driving, I would have pulled him over and had him walk the line.
Like
Your
Johnny Cash?
yeah, like you're slurring your speech.
I'm slowing my speech down intentionally because I tend to talk. Thanks, Keith.
All right.
All right. Well, then I'll go back to just yelling at everyone all the fucking time. That'll be great.
Okay. So you were saying that you were saying it was a combination of both?
From my understanding, it was a combination of both, right? So the state of California was trying to maintain the state national parks there.
Right.
At the same time, the brush fires and other fires were coming near there.
Near the native
Sequoias.
lands? Okay.
And so
Okay.
on native property or national parks, or are they the same thing?
At this point in time, there's a lot of overlap.
Okay.
Here's some other interesting things. And so, yes, I mean, we're definitely looking at a big part of this has to do with climate change. I mean, there's just no doubt about it. So it's magnifying, it's basically magnifying the mismanagement, right? And also, and it's hard to call it necessarily mismanagement as well, because we have so many people, maybe these are zoning issues, but when you have huge booms of people, I mean, we're talking about 20 million people, that double the population since the 1970s, and now you're just basically checker marking the land.
Well, yeah, particularly when we're talking about Northern California, Oregon, and Washington, right?
Right, exactly. Also during this, okay, so they're also saying that climate change has extended the season by 75 days, where it used to be 75 days shorter than it is now because of climate change. Also, this is interesting. I hadn't realized this. Meanwhile, bark beetle infestations following the historic droughts of 2006 to 2010 and 2011 to 2017 killed an estimated 150 million trees, which are now primed to burn. The Sierra Nevada mountain range that John Muir once called the Range of Light is at risk of becoming a range of ghosts. It's fucking terrifying, man.
Yeah, that was an article that I didn't note today, but I was reading over something that said that they estimate that we've lost 2/3 of our animal species in the last 50 years. So if that was a direct result, given the beetle that you were talking about.
Well, hold on. 2/3 of our animal species.
I know, it sounded extreme to me. It was on NPR.
What was it?
There was an article, 2/3 in the past 50 years. I mean, they must be species that we're not like highly familiar with, right? Like small things, frogs,
Right.
bugs.
But you're talking about in California, or I missed that?
In the world.
In the world? 2/3
Yeah.
of all
2/3
species
of
of life?
all species in the last 50
I
years.
will find it. Keep talking.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a bad situation. I'm not really sure how we're going to turn it around. I mean, that's the thing. Is it possible? Is it a solvable problem?
Turn what around? Just climate change in general?
Well, no.
It's not going to get turned around, right?
I'm specifically
And that's
talking.
not the intention.
I'm specifically talking about the wildfires, because coupled with population growth, mismanagement, and climate change, I don't see how this is.
They're at 16% controlled, as far as I saw earlier today.
What? 16% what?
Of the wildfires were
are under control.
Yeah.
16%. Jesus. And I wasn't necessarily talking about this fire season. I'm talking about is this a solvable problem?
So the state of
in the long
California.
term?
So the state of California has issued allowances for the native populations to continue, or not to continue, but to restart their native tribal underbrush fires.
But doesn't that seem like a little too late?
I mean, yeah, but my biggest hope is that California breaks off at the San Andreas Fault and goes and joins California Hawaii and or Alaska. It's my best bet.
Let's move on. Let's talk a little bit about Bob Woodward and his new Rage. Is it is it Rage or is it Fury? I can't remember.
Rage.
What, he has two. One came out in 2017.
This one's Rage.
This one's Rage. Okay, got it. So, for those of you who don't know who Bob Woodward is, and you're listening to the news and you're hearing these tapes of Trump talking about Woodward, Bob Woodward was actually the journalist that broke the Watergate scandal.
That's correct.
Can I read you a blip? Can I read you his write-up in Masterclass?
Yeah.
Bob Woodward.
This is Woodward. Okay.
Yeah, Bob Woodward is an associate editor of the Washington Post, where he has worked since 1971. He is shared in 2 Pulitzer Prizes, first in 1973 for coverage of the Watergate scandal with Carl Bernstein, and second in 2020 as the lead reporter for coverage of the 9/11 terrorist attacks. Gene Roberts, the former managing editor of the New York Times, has called the Woodward-Bernstein Watergate coverage maybe the single greatest reporting effort of all time. Bob has authored or co-authored 18 books. This was back in 2016, so I think it's 19 now, all of which have been national nonfiction bestsellers. 12 of those have been #1 national bestsellers. In listing the all-time 100 best nonfiction books, Time magazine has called All the President's Men by Bernstein and Woodward perhaps the most influential piece of journalism in history. Bob Schaefer of CBS News has said, Bob Woodward has established himself as the best reporter of our time. He may be the best reporter of all time. In 2014, Robert Gates, former director of the CIA and Secretary of Defense, said that he wished he'd recruited Woodward into the CIA, saying of him, he has an extraordinary ability to get otherwise responsible adults to spill their guts to him. His ability to get people to talk about stuff they shouldn't be talking about is just extraordinary and maybe unique.
Wow.
So that's very elucidating, right? And Kristen and Michael, I'll ask both of you, please, when we do the readings, the screen, just the reading the screen, can we...
What?
Share the screen?
No, share it or expedite it and give us your paraphrasing, right? Because Kristen, your reading was phenomenal. It's better than Michael's usually.
Anything else, Brooks?
Yeah, please don't just read the screen.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
Ah.
Thanks for that. So let's talk about Woodward. So one of the things that I find so fascinating about Woodward, and I'm actually glad you did get to that last point, because that last point is valuable. And that is that he has the ability to get people to spill their guts, right? And so with this last round of conversations, and one of the weird things about this last round of conversations with Trump was that he wanted to hold off on releasing this audio recording, right? Because he didn't think, he was trying to do the research, and a lot of people were upset with him for that. They were pissed off that he didn't release the audio recordings of his conversations with Trump saying that he knew this was worse than he was letting on.
They are released.
What's that?
They are released.
Yeah, no, they are now, but people are pissed that they just came out now instead of when he actually did the recordings. And that's the thing about Woodward. He's a research journalist. Like, he doesn't just get something and release it immediately. He is doing that research.
He had a book to release.
That's also true. That's true. So there's marketing for the book. So
just like Michael Cohen and John Bolton, they all had books to release. And I won't deny you your dollars, but at the end of the day, as long as they're released before November 4th, I mean, who gives a shit, right? Like,
well, and then I believe he said it wasn't until around 4 months later, I don't know if I'm quoting that correctly, that there hadn't been enough information collected about the disease itself
that's bullshit, because he also, so particularly Woodward, had not just the I knew it was worse than any, what was Strenuous flu, I believe, was the exact terminology.
Possibly, yeah.
Strenuous flu.
Yeah, worse than a strenuous flu. Yeah, that was Trump's. Yeah.
And then 5 times the deadliness of a strenuous flu, I believe was the correct terminology.
He quotes, "It goes through the air. That's always tougher than the touch. You don't have to touch things, right? But the air, you just breathe the air. That's how it's passed. And so that's a very tricky one. That's a very delicate one. It's also more deadly than even your strenuous
strenuous flu. 5 times to death. He acknowledged.
Joseph found my link, and I sent it to you too, Mike.
Okay, great. Keith says we had a very light fire season in Alaska this year. 336 fires burned, about 181K acres. Last year was 2.58 million. That's interesting. Woo. I wonder why they saw a lighter year up in Alaska.
Because they burned 282.
Well, good point. Good point. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't think there's any. I don't think there would have been any. I don't think that had Woodward released this information any earlier, I don't think we would have saved any lives because Trump doesn't give a fuck. And we're all. I mean, if you listen to the science, you listen to the science. If you listen to Trump, you listen to Trump. I mean, what's the fucking difference, right?
Right. And that was my point. I was like, he's going to do what he's going to do. We all know what he lies about. And I don't think it's going to make any difference to the campaign. What I was upset about was all the friggin' Democrats running around celebrating because they feel like this is some big revelation, which it's not. And they're all convinced that we're going to win, which is not for sure.
Right. No, that's a great point. And I mean, you turn on CNN and it's just like they've got a parade going, and you're like, Jesus Christ, you guys. Trump, on the other hand, is calling it a political hit job. I don't understand.
What he meant to say was hijab, which is what the women wear over their head in the Middle East, is a hijab.
Right. A political hijab. I mean, the fact that he even thinks that it's his base. He's just talking to his base. He's saying it's a political hit job, blah, blah, blah. But it's a literal recording of his voice.
You also said that he thinks.
Right, which is something else entirely.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, let's talk about the UAE and Israel deal that Trump is up for a Nobel Peace Prize for.
No, he nominated himself again. Okay.
No, I thought he was actually up for a Nobel Peace Prize. Is that not accurate?
I don't know.
Anyone could. I can nominate you for a Nobel Peace Prize. It doesn't mean that you're going to be in the top 6.
I see.
Yeah.
So
let's be very clear. You guys are familiar with the Norwegian science prizes.
No, I'm not.
I've got a base understanding. Right.
Peace is only one of them.
There's mathematics, there's literature, there's
physiology.
Yes.
Math, yeah. Chemistry, biology, right? So peace was founded and paid for by Alfred Nobel, hence the name. And Alfred Nobel created what?
I don't know.
Trinitrotoluene.
What is
better
that?
known as TNT.
Alfred
Nobel killed a shit ton of people.
Yes.
And then decided that it might not have been the greatest thing that he ever thought of.
Okay, so this was a doing better thing?
Sort of, kind of.
Okay.
Best he could do. But his intention was to take all the money that he ever made from developing dynamite, TNT, and awarding it to individuals who could do their best to create peace. The only actual Nobel Prize is the Peace Prize. That's correct, Joseph. The rest of them are actual, they're Norwegian or they're Scandinavian. They're prizes, but the only one that's actually the Nobel Prize is the Peace.
Right. Oh, so they're not actually, the other prizes aren't actually called like the Nobel Prize for Literature or the Nobel Prize for Mathematics?
I mean, They're from the Nobel Foundation, but the only Nobel Prize is the one for peace.
Is the Peace Prize. And was that because he felt so bad about TNT that he wanted to do something nice?
That's absolutely
correct. As Kristen was saying. Okay. All right. So the UAE Israel deal. So basically, if you're on social media at all and you have followed Breitbart News or you see any of the right wing folks, they are going shit haywire, thinking that we solved peace in the Middle East. We solved it. Trump solved it. Literally, this is what you're hearing. This is what you're hearing from people on the far right who are serious Trumpers.
I'm not hearing it.
Do you listen to people on the far right?
I don't listen to people.
Okay, well then that's why you're not hearing it, because it's happening, and it's one of these truly bizarre things. So let's dig into the details so people actually know what the actual deal deal
So
does.
let's start with the UAE, right? What is the UAE?
United Arab Emirates. It's a Gulf Arab state.
Nation. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Nation.
Made of how many states?
I don't know.
I think it's 11 Emirates.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but I think it's 11 Emirates. Everything from Abu Dhabi, obviously, Qatar,
right?
Mm-hmm. Everyone really wants to think about is what's the one with the giant tower in it?
You're talking about
Dubai.
Dubai.
Yeah.
Dubai. Yeah.
We all say it at the same time.
Yeah. So that's when you say UAE, everyone thinks of Dubai, right?
Right.
Well, the UAE as a nation is Abu Dhabi, Dubai, and a few others. But Qatar, which is also an emirate, is east of the UAE. And there are a series of other emirates that are not part of they are part of the United Arab Emirates, but they're not part of the nation, right?
Okay.
Not attached land-wise?
Correct. They're separate emirates.
Right. So according to this, there are 7 emirates.
I said 11. You're right.
In the UAE. Yep.
Oh no, there's 7 in the UAE or 11 total.
This says 7. I could be wrong, but this one says 7. Yeah, the 7 emirates that make up the EUA is Abu Dhabi, Dubai, Ajman, Fujairah, Ras Al Khaimah, and Sharjah, and Al Quwain.
Okay.
I butchered those, but that's
right,
in effect the seven states in the nation
UAE, right? So there are, I believe, 4 other emirates. Qatar is one of them, and I think there are 4 other, or I think there's 3 more beyond that. They're also about to create a new emirate. Okay. Which will go into our topic for today.
Yes, we will get into that. Right. It's an intentionally created emirate.
Correct.
All right. So that being the case, so the UAE has not had normalized relations with Israel. Now, when you usually think of volatility in that region, you usually think of Palestine and the West, or Palestine and Israel, right?
Well, Palestine is well,
I'm just talking about like when people are talking about peace in the Gulf region, they're often thinking of peace between the 2-state solution, right? They're thinking about Israel and Palestine, right?
What nations tend to back Palestine?
All of the UAE. They're Arab, right? So Israel is from
a militaristic background.
I don't know. You'd have to tell me.
It would mostly be the Saudis,
who are pissed off about this. By the way, the Saudis are furious.
Yeah,
because the Palestinians are furious.
Sure. So the Saudi Arabian nation and the principality that's behind them is not pleased to see another nation in the region. It would be another emirate, right? So at this point in time, the two major powers, besides the UAE, when it comes to economic powers, are Iran and the Saudi Arabians.
Iran is also pissed off about this.
Which is weird because they're opposite parts of Islam, right?
Right. Yeah, it's quite strange. And so I just so everybody knows, like this, the UAE is so this deal is basically the UAE normalizing relations with Israel, but it is not solving. It's only extending the runway of the conversation between Israel and Palestine and the two-state solution. So they're saying basically what Israel's saying is, yes, we're thrilled, President Trump, you're amazing, you got us all to come together, but we're not going to continue annexing the West Bank at this moment, but it's not off the table, basically. So I don't understand. I mean, the only thing this has done is create an economic sovereignty between, or an economic communication, a reopening of economics between the UAE and Israel. I don't see what else it does beyond that to create peace in the Middle East.
I don't see how in any way that's peace in the Middle East.
Right. But that's my point, is that the President Trump is waving this flag like he's now, after 18 months of intense negotiations, we now have peace in the Middle East. And it's this misconstrued understanding of what the relationships are between these countries. And now we have Trump brandishing this victory back to the American people right before the election, when I don't see the victory here. I don't understand where the victory is.
I don't think that he's going to win over anyone but the bottom line anyway. So I don't think.
So you think his base? You think he's just going to continue to get his base? Sorry, Kristen, go ahead.
Let's not call her. Sorry, Kristen, please.
No. Probably that way. I think for the two countries, it might be beneficial for them because it was supposed to open up, like you said, some commerce. They're supposed to open up travel between the two countries, air travel, and that sort of thing.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right.
Because the Emirates has a really nice airline. Great.
Right. But I mean, it's not like the Israelis, and like I'm not. This is not this is not my region of the world. Like, I'm not here to say Israel shouldn't or should or the UAE. Like, I don't like, that's up to them. Those are their sovereign nation choices. I'm just saying, like, that's great that they can communicate and have economic relationships, but what does that actually mean? Sorry, go ahead, Brooks.
No, it's fine. It's not my religiously regional world, but something I care very deeply about, right? So the difference between Israel and Palestine is obviously the difference between Judaism and Islam. But the Palestinian Muslims share a very, very deep history with the Israeli Jews. So far removed that our Christian ancestors that came down through the Crusades screwed everyone. Like, if you go back to 1000 AD, 11,000 AD, 12,000 AD, 1200 AD, they really did make a huge difference in what is going on in what we now consider the Middle East, right? Mm-hmm. So Jerusalem is a nation that should be ruled by three countries and three religions, right? It should be the post-Christ Christians. It should be the pre-Christ Jews, and it should be any part of the Arabic and Muslim nation. And it's not. It is, we gave it post World War II. We gave Jerusalem back to Israel.
Right. And it's been a fight. It's been a fight ever since.
It's been a huge fight. But it's something that I am very deeply passionate about, not from a particular religious standpoint, but I think all three of those groups have a claim.
Right. Yeah,
they have a claim, right? And it's something that I think everyone should have an opportunity to be a part of, whether you're Muslim or Jewish or Christian. Like, that is something that is near and dear to your quote unquote heartland, and it's something that you should have an opportunity to go to, see, be a part of.
Yeah, right. I completely agree with you. I just don't know what the hell this has anything to do with Trump's so-called victory. I don't get it.
Well, peace in the Middle East means no one's fighting over Jerusalem.
Right, and
that's just not true.
Right, this doesn't solve that. It does push down the runway a little bit, right? But
sure,
and
just like anything, one camp is going to tout their win. Like, of course, that's going to happen.
But I don't see which camp's going to tout that win there.
Trump's camp, dude. I'm telling you, bro.
That's not a camp. That's not a camp. That's a bunch of cannibals in the wind. And
bro, you say that like you can't call a bunch of cannibals in the wind when they got his ass elected in 2016. Like that's not a small constituency. This is not.
It's not a small constituency. It's just a bunch of cannibals.
I mean, yeah, fine, but
they will eat anyone to get there.
Yeah.
And as someone who is not unfond of eating people,
you are fond of eating people.
Yes, that's correct. And I won't eat the people they'll eat. They eat. Ugh.
You eat different people. Well, that's because you're
crime.
That's because you're a left wing and you eat the pineal glands of children.
Right wing. I stroke with my left. I eat with my right. Okay. And the pineal glands of children have not done me what I hope they would. So, that being said.
Yep. Now the Jewish settlers, the right-wing Israeli settlers who want to annex the West Bank are furious. They're furious with Netanyahu. They say he deceived us. He's deceived 500,000 residents of the area, hundreds of thousands of voters. And so basically what they're saying is you ran on this ticket of allowing us to annex the West Bank, and now you're going back on your word. So President Trump can go back to his base and get them to vote for him, and so he can win a Nobel Peace Prize. Right?
It's not going to happen. So Benjamin Netanyahu, who is a mess by himself, did not run on we will take the West Bank. He said that we will renegotiate what we have with Palestine.
Right. But ultimately it was like it's a dog whistle to voters. You know what he was dog whistling.
But the irony being that we have a right-wing leadership who is supportive of neo-Nazis that is willing to side with Israeli Jews.
It's very confusing.
It's mind-boggling.
No, it's not. It's just a bunch of idiots.
You should read Don's. Don had a long...
shit. Don says the Israeli Jews come from WW2 relocation when the Allies gave them the creation of Israel as a country in 1948, where the Palestinians, Israel is their homeland, were removed to present-day Palestine. The Allied powers displaced them, much like the U.S. government displaced the indigenous to reservations. You said they have history. No, let me finish the comment, and then you can rebut. You said that they have history, the Israeli Jews and Palestinians. They don't, or am I incorrect?
Well, they have history like from thousands and thousands of years ago. But to Don's point, what we're talking about there actually goes back to a very interesting series of things. The first, someone needs to fact check me on this. The first president of Israel was
Professor Chaim Weizmann.
Oh, that's not what I was thinking of. Who's it was Al. No, it doesn't.
Why don't you tell us what he did, and then we can
the person that I was thinking of was the gentleman who decided that as a leader, he had to figure out how to fight the northern. Well, it would have been the tail end, because there were still Ottoman groups despite the fact that the Ottoman Empire ended after the end of World War One. But they still had some of the same logistics from the Turks at that point in time in northern Israel. So, northern Africa. So we had Montgomery, who fought as the lead general for the British in North Africa, and then we had the Desert Fox, right, for the Nazis in northern Africa. Desert Fox was where's my phone?
We got some dead air here, Brooks. Did you want me to look something up for you?
No, I'm gonna get it real quick. Sorry. Desert Fox in northern Africa is Erwin Rommel. Sorry. So Erwin. What?
Joseph just popped it on the screen.
Erwin Rommel was the Desert Fox in northern Africa. So about the time all this is happening, and there's still some weird Janissaries from the Ottoman Turks who are moving down from the Turks. It's a very weird state of modern warfare, right? So at that point in time, so it was David Ben Gurion is who I'm trying to think of from Israel. About the time that we had finished it, finished World War II, given Israel back to the Jews. It was David Ben Gurion was the gentleman, and he had identified that taking the air out of jeeps and different desert vehicles be a good way to fight against opposition. They won a series of wars against Jordan, Egypt, and several of their neighbors, to the point where in the mid-70s they won the 7 Days War. We're all aware of the 7 Days War, right?
Nope, I'm not.
Okay, so on a Jewish holiday, I believe it was, I was going to say Rosh Hashanah. I believe it's Rosh Hashanah. Please, someone fact check me. The Egyptian Air Force attacked Israel. And the Israeli Air Force was so powerful that they just kind of turned around and shit on Israel.
Mm-hmm.
I'm waiting for my fact check, hopefully from Joseph.
Oh, I believe that that's around this time of year.
Yeah, I mean, maybe.
But ultimately,
what are you getting at? Yeah.
What I'm getting at is that Israel, once it was created, has been incredibly self-sustaining.
Right.
They have never given anything to anyone around them. I mean, yes, they get monetary help from the United States, but
I was going to say, that's a huge part of it, right? That's a huge part of the reason why they haven't been engulfed.
Until now, even Jordan are good allies with Israel.
Okay.
And Lebanon would be if they weren't doing the shit they were with Hezbollah, which was also fighting against the Saudis. So we live, again, in a two-religion Middle East. We have a very, very strong population of Shiites from a monetary perspective. And then there are a ton of Sunnis from a body perspective. There are just more in general.
Mm-hmm.
But those nations will fight each other almost forever. Almost forever.
Right. Right. So again, coming back to this deal in the Middle East where everybody, all these folks who are Trump's base are like, he did it. He did it. And it's just like the complexity. And so, Brooks, you're a much deeper scholar when it comes to what's going on in the Middle East than I am. Like I know I know very little. I know more what's going on currently than I do that was going on then. These folks know a fraction of what I know and a 1/1,000,000th of what you know. And so the problem is
I don't ask anyone to.
Well, I'm just talking about like the problem that we have now in politics is that it's all about sound bites. So we're sitting here, prior to the 2020 election, and Trump is touting that he's created peace in the Middle East, and it's just horseshit. And I know you don't care about those voters or whatever, but I'm just saying like this shit matters.
But when Trump says it, fine. But if you find me 2 or 3 random dudes in Syria, okay, regardless of their particular religious effing, they're going to carry an American flag and not burn it down, right? Like not lit on fire. Show me that, and I'll go, you know what, maybe you've got something. Otherwise, the United Arab Emirates, it's Disney World of the Middle East.
That's what I'm saying. Like this is all financial. This is just Trump was able to go to the Middle East and be like, how can I find a good financial win, right? And that's all this is. It's all it is. It's a nice financial win for Israel and the UAE. That's all it is. It's a reduction. It's a relief of sanctions between the UAE and the Middle East. That's it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I'm with you on that. But I want everyone to have an understanding. The Middle East is not. It is more broken up than we are, and we're pretty broken up these days.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the more history you have behind you, the more reason you have to be. Oh, that was very depressing. What I just said.
But you're not wrong. But you're not wrong.
Shall we transition to our main topic?
I think so. I've got a couple little fun things.
Yeah, why don't you hit us with a couple fun facts, and then we'll transition to our main topic, which is the Megalopolis, the future of cities around the world. What do you got for us, Brooks?
So one of my favorites is that the Federal Bureau of Investigation,
the FBI,
is doing an investigation. It was based on something that happened on the 31st of August. There were actually 2 747s being flown, both of which called in a UFO report stating that there was a guy with a jetpack flying between them.
Between 2 747s? What airspace was this?
Here in the United States.
Okay.
It was between, I think, Missouri and Louisiana.
Okay.
But there was at almost 3,000 feet. They saw a guy, is how it is stated, flying with a jetpack.
LAX. This was in LAX.
And I'm way out of my range.
If that's what he's talking about, I don't.
I thought it was far more east. No, he's right. I said.
So it was a dude with a fucking jetpack flying between 2 747s over LAX?
I guess it must have been LAX. I thought it was far. I thought it was on the east side of the nation. But yeah.
Does he work for Tesla? I don't understand. Like, what are the details here? Was it like it was? This was literal.
He's literally a UFG, unidentified flying guy. So, but they were 2 different. I thought it was closer to the Gulf. Thank you, Joseph. I thought it was closer to the Gulf. I just checked it back.
Okay, so did he get up and down? Did he get down? Did he survive? Did he live?
No, he's an unidentified flying guy.
Still unidentified?
Still unidentified.
Joseph says it is 2 separate airlines called the tower to report passing a guy in a jetpack.
That's it. That's exactly the same thing. I don't know why I saw it and I thought it was Louisiana and not Los Angeles. Bias on my part, I guess. Before we get into the full Megalopolis thing, though, I have another one, and I think this is amongst my favorite, right? So the United States has decided that football is in our interest, right? It's in our blood. It's where we come from, right?
That's what we're told.
So Missouri, Ole Miss, still to this day, the rebels.
Okay. Right. Sure. Yeah. Yep. The rebels. Yep. The
They were-
losers. The losers.
Sure. Sure. So they put out to make us all feel a little bit better. They released a cup, like a literal, visceral drinking cup for their fans in the stadium. It is entitled Ole Miss Heroes. Okay.
Okay.
It is a series of red and black portraits of individuals who work in the healthcare industry. One of which is a gentleman named Johnny Sins. Not Sims with an M, Sins with an N.
Okay.
His only healthcare work is sticking a big old schlong into tiny ladies on the internet.
Wait, what?
Yeah. No, he's an adult film star.
Ah, I see.
But
I see.
he likes to dress as a doctor, and then take care of nurses on the internet. And because whoever did the due diligence or did not do the due diligence for Ole Miss University,
Or was disgruntled, perhaps?
well, I mean, it's Ole Miss; they can't read anyway. I don't think, but this fella here.
Oh, we can kind of see a little.
Yeah,
Right.
It's tough to see.
Johnny Sins is on the healthcare workers Old Miss Cup.
Oh.
And again, the only type of medical work he's ever done is to lay it down.
That's
Well, I'm sure that'll be a very collectible item.
Yeah, I want one.
Yeah.
I don't even know who he is, but I want one.
I think it's worth an investment for sure. Definitely.
So let's move on to Megalopolis.
All right. So, the topic today that we're getting into, and it's interesting because one of the states in the UAE is creating one of these cities of the future.
Abu Dhabi.
Yeah. Right. Just outside of Abu Dhabi. That's exactly right.
But Abu Dhabi by itself is an emirate.
Abu Dhabi by itself is an emirate. Right, exactly. Abu Dhabi is an emirate, and then Abu Dhabi is creating this intentional, sustainable community.
Correct.
Right. And it's called, let's see if I can find it real quick.
It's called Beyonce.
It's definitely not called Beyonce. I think it's called Mazdam.
I hate Beyonce, so we're so.
Okay. Masdar City, actually. It's a planned project in Abu Dhabi, in the UAE.
In the Emirate of Abu Dhabi.
Yes, correct.
Which is important only because of whom finances it, right?
That's important as well. Its core is being built by Masdar, a subsidiary of Mubadala Development Company, with the majority seed capital provided by the government of Abu Dhabi.
Our apologies for all of these pronunciations; they're very difficult.
Yes, please don't hold us accountable for our Arab pronunciations.
Yours were quite good.
So with the majority of seed capital coming from Abu Dhabi, but they subcontracted a British architectural firm called Foster and Partners, and because they have done quite a bit of solar design and things like that in the past, and so the idea is that this city, Masdar City, is being constructed. It's going to be 11 miles east southeast of the city of Abu Dhabi. And the whole idea is that it's going to be a completely self-sufficient city because now, for those of you who don't know, the UAE is big oil money. That's how they have all their money. That's why Abu Dhabi is so incredibly rich. That's why the cities are so incredible. And Dubai. And so the idea is that they want to give back. They want to envision the future. And so
they want to give back. Is that really what they're saying?
That's what they're saying. But I mean, the point is that there will come a day, and they have so much fucking money. And as I was researching this, I was like, Jesus Christ, these people have so much fucking money. So
and it's not going to be shit in 10 years. So
well, the question really is Masdar, and I read a whole piece on Bloomberg about it, and it's like, is this just a kind of a jerk off thing where it's like, oh, we're going to create this really cool city of the future, but it's going to take all this money to keep it running. It's not really going to be self-sustainable, and the jury's still out. It's not complete yet. Sorry.
Do you think it's just an investment dump? Like it's somewhere where they can put their
It is.
Have you seen what Cotter did for the the World Cup in 2 years?
No.
Seriously?
No.
Oh, 2 years ago. Oh, in 2 years. I was reading a bit about the people who are called in to work on those projects for the World Cup and how horribly they're treated.
Yeah, no, it's great.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
Oh, well, for the World Cup, especially when it's going on, it's been in several Middle Eastern countries over the past, I'm going to say like 10 years or so, but typically they bring in people from other countries as the workers and they do not take good care of that. They're very exploited. And
they die.
Because they build brand new stadiums and
they die.
Yeah.
This was from our last conversation. Tom says, Johnny Sins has laid more pipe than most of my local plumbers.
Tom, if you need plumbers, let me know. I'll get in touch with Johnny Sins for you.
Joseph says they're diversifying because they know oil is ending. We're pushing programming and tech education. They were pushing programming and tech education when I was down there. And I agree with that. Correct. But also at the same time, yes, they do know oil is ending, but it's not on the same time horizon that we usually typically think of things like oil is not going away in the next 5 years. I promise you. 10 years? No. 15, 20. Now we're starting. And if you really look at percentages.
But you know what comes out next year?
What?
June.
What?
Yeah.
The movie releases. We all remember that
your daughter's favorite actor, Mike, is the lead in it. I was so surprised.
Who's her favorite actor?
I can't. He's the French-Italian beautiful kid.
Oh, the kid from Call Me by Your Name. What's his name?
Trax.
What? What Brooks?
Trax. From WWE. Trax. Yeah.
No, I don't think that's who it is.
No.
His name is Timothy Chalamet.
Yes,
Chalamet.
Timothy Chalamet. Yeah,
whatever. I knew who it was.
To build Masdar City, the provincial capital put in seed money for the estimated $20 billion cost. The project team, Masdar, a subsidiary of Mabudala Development Company, brought in the British architectural firm Foster and Partners. And so 2.5 square mile neighborhood that will be close to zero carbon, so carbon neutral, thanks to Clean Energy Wizard LEED certified building design and giant adjacent solar panel farm. Now,
go ahead.
I was just going to say that when you actually go visit these places, this is the thing that like a lot of the journalists are going to visit and they're reporting back and they're saying, well, you know, it's interesting and it's beautiful, but it kind of reminds me of like an Epcot prototype without the people. You know,
which Epcot stands for what?
Hold on. Epcot stands for Experimental Prototype City of Tomorrow.
Community.
What?
Community.
What's that?
Community. One? It's the Nigerian word.
That's what I was like. Community or city.
Yeah, no, it's City of Tomorrow.
Community.
Yeah. Tomorrow.
Community.
Community of Tomorrow? Okay. Yeah, and that's one of the things that Disney believed in deeply was that you would live, work, and play and educate all in the same area. And that's one of the things that, you know, if you look at some of these modern cities that they're trying to develop intentionally, that's the idea. And when Disney first had that idea, he wanted to create that as Epcot. That was the goal. Right. He was trying to actually create that.
It was the literal prototype.
It was the literal prototype. But when he died and he handed over to his brother and the board of directors, they were like, we're going to make a theme park. Sorry.
Yeah,
To save energy also. And wasn't that where the monorail? Isn't that the original idea for the monorail?
That was
because they saved the energy.
That was not Roy's fault. That was Michael Eisner's fault.
Oh.
Are you sure? I don't think I thought Michael Eisner came on later. Michael
Roy
Eisner.
Disney was never CEO.
Right, but are you sure Eisner was developing Epcot in the Florida project?
There was never the development of Epcot happened during Walt Disney's life.
Right.
I'm a big Walt Disney.
Was it
Elias Disney? Okay.
But was it the board that talked Disney out of it? I thought Disney was on his deathbed, and then they switched hands.
Yeah.
Right. So, but wasn't Roy in charge when Epcot went from an actual prototype community to a theme park?
It was already a theme park before he died.
It was? So they talked him out of it before he died?
He kind of had a little epiphany that, maybe his best friend Adolf Hitler was not going to be the
They were
future.
Not best friends.
I know.
Stop it.
So funny though. So funny.
Oh.
But no, in all seriousness, the Disney family was very much an actual blue collar family. They owned a jelly factory, a newspaper route, and later a theme park or 5.
Well, one thing that I found so fascinating about Walt Disney was that he originally, I mean, they were cartoonists, right? That's where they originally made a lot of their
served. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say he was a cartoonist, and so he was out with his daughters, one day, and he's like, there is nothing fun to do. There's nothing for us to do together that's fun. And then he saw, he tried to take his kids to a carnival, but they're dirty and nasty and disgusting. And he's like, hey, what if I took my cartoon business, merged it with a fair business, made it beautiful, and so everybody walks in and it's clean as shit and it's fun for your kids? That was it. That's how Disney started.
Yes,
that's a very, very loose basis off of it. He served.
That's what I'm saying, bro. That's the essence.
He served in an ambulance corps in World War I.
That's where he met Adolf.
That's where he met. Even better.
It's the wrong year, man.
Even better, and probably more fascist than Adolf. That's where he met Ray Kroc.
Oh, no shit. I didn't know that.
They were in the same exact ambulance together.
Huh. Yeah, I mean, if you're a business person, like Ray's the man. Like that dude understood what an assembly line was.
He will find you and shit on you. That's absolutely correct.
Yep.
And if you're not familiar, Ray Kroc is the original creator of McDonald's.
Yep. So let's go back and so he stole it from he bought it from the McDonald's brothers and then just turned it into an assembly line, basically.
And then obviously Ford is the best Nazi of all time.
Who is also an assembly line guru. All right, so let's talk about the history of cities. So the reason cities exist in the first place is for a series of reasons. Number one, natural resources. The first city began about 10,000 years ago.
Uruk or Ur?
What's that?
Are you going with Uruk or Ur for the first?
It's debated. It's debated whether it was Eridu, Uruk, or Ur. But between 8,000 and 10,000 years ago is when the first cities were founded in Mesopotamia, and basically they were just founded around a giant river with fertile ground. We created agriculture.
2 rivers.
Sorry, the Tigris and Euphrates. River. Yep.
Yeah. So Sumeria, which if you go back to the Epic of Gilgamesh, right? Is that the Sumerian epic?
That's the Sumerian Noah's Ark.
The tail end of it is. Yeah, he's right. The tail end of it is. There is a flood.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is not the whole thing. It's got more.
Right.
So we go from that to let's see, let's call that 10,000 years ago. 6,000 years ago, we had about 4 major civilizations, right? We had the Egyptians, the Chinese, we had the Mesoamericans.
Okay, so we're going. Yeah, go ahead. Okay.
And the sub-Saharan Africans at that point in time, right? So we had the Kingdom of Kush, the Egyptians, the Chinese, and then we had some Mesoamericans, the Incans, for the well, it would be the predecessors at that point in time, and they would have been the first to use maize, corn as we know it, and potatoes as a potential crop.
Speaking of potatoes, Chris and I saw this ad the other day. It's so fucking funny. It was literally an ad. Like you thought it was going to be like a power bar ad or something. It was just like.
It was well done. It had great music and like build up and everything. It could have been for, Yeah,
this dude's just running. They're like, and you got to keep up the natural food. And it was like potatoes. And it just had this dude like popping potatoes in his mouth.
And he's just like eating cold boiled potatoes, I guess, for energy, for carb loading. It was so odd.
It was hilarious.
Don't eat uncooked potatoes are actually toxic.
No, they were cooked.
No, they were. I think they were probably supposed to be like cold boiled, you know, like as a snack.
Yeah,
is what it is. Point being, we moved from 10,000 years ago. We were in the Fertile Crescent, which was between
with the advent of agriculture. Go on.
Between the Tigris and the Euphrates, that was the Fertile Crescent. From that point in time, we moved across the greater. I mean, it's not Pangea at that point, but the greater continental everything, right? And at some point in time, we developed into a few major civilizations. If we go back to the birth of Christ, if we go back 2,000 years now, there are about 10 major organizations or empires, civilizations. Yeah, right. So we got China, Egypt, Rome, the Gauls, the Asiatic Islanders, the Mesoamericans, the Iberians. I'm missing a couple more, but that's all right.
Okay. It's okay. Keep moving.
I've been, speaking of the Gauls, I've been to an early Gaul city, which is Saint-Malo in France. It's famous.
Yeah, well, I stood on the foundation of Carthage, and it's just a flat piece of shit now. So thanks, Romans.
Well, it's tourism. Tourism can sustain things, right?
No, that was because the Romans literally just destroyed it. So.
Smash it.
Keith says he was eating boiled potatoes cold with salt for energy 22 years ago, way before this commercial came out. Allison says they contain arsenic.
If they're unboiled.
If they're unboiled. We have friends that eat them raw. That's fucking weird. All right. So about 10,000 years ago, we come up with agriculture. We get some really fertile places. We start creating some cities. Cities were basically built out of agricultural communities around resources. Then, once we started to realize that people wanted our resources, we started to build what around our cities, everyone?
Farms.
Flint.
Walls. So we started to take up technology to defend our cities, our resources, all of our foodstuffs to keep them away from invading barbarians and nomadic tribes who wanted to steal our goodies.
Okay, yeah, so Saint-Malo is a walled city, but it's also a port city, which I always find super, super weird because it's on the ocean, but it's walled.
Yeah, but that's dope. That's great. That's so cool.
So are a lot of the northern African cities. I mean, look at Tyre.
The ocean is a wall, basically. If you don't have ships, the ocean's a wall.
Right, but if you do,
it's not a wall.
No, you still build a wall and put cannons in the
Yes,
Yeah.
good plan. Cannons in the wall.
Yeah, because you can see them coming from far away. They're coming slow, and you can blast them before they even get close to you. So the
If it's freezing time, you've got catapults and arbalests.
yeah, exactly. So cities were originally created out because of agriculture, because we had resources, and so we then we started to defend those cities because with new technologies like catapults and so eventually that technology, and so it's interesting because again I'll refer back to the book Sapiens, which is really fascinating, because if it weren't for what this book points out is if it weren't for religion and storytelling, we wouldn't have the mutual ability to understand concepts that build trust, right? So
Agreements, yeah,
or what
agreements.
Agree. Exactly. So, it's because of religion. It's because a religion in this area.
No. Let's go back. You're absolutely right. Because of stories.
Correct. Right.
Because we shared stories.
Exactly. Shared stories gave us a mutual context to build trust, which allowed us to barter.
Then we have agreements.
Right.
So our shared stories allow us to make agreements to become a population of a city, right?
Exactly. And so those tribes that surrounded those areas, which then built up the agricultural foodstuffs and resources, could then communicate with one another through shared stories, and those became religions. And those shared stories were able to build trust because we had a mutual context of understanding, which allowed us to barter and trust one another. And it's that mutual trust and reciprocity that allowed us to flourish.
I'm with you on reciprocity. I'm with you on stories. I'm with you on symbology and religion.
Not with me on trust, huh?
I'm not with you on trust.
Okay, why is that?
Because the basis of building a walled city is a lack of trust.
It is, but it was the mutual trust based on those stories. It's because no. Listen, hear me out. Hear me out. What I'm saying is the reason we built cities was because we lacked trust to people whose stories weren't the same. So let's fast forward to modern day, right? We have Israel and Palestine, right? And the reason we lack trust is because we lack the same what?
Well, in that case, it's religion.
We lack the same stories, and that religion is an outgrowth. It's a complicated outgrowth of those stories.
But you also cannot tell me that you believe that all different Jewish populations of Israel share the same trust, because I don't think they do.
Well,
not only that, they certainly don't share the same stories.
You're saying that
right, because we create subgroup upon subgroup. You can have different.
It becomes a
socioeconomic groups within the same religion.
Well, that's true too, socioeconomic groups. But there are individuals that live in Israel that are Israeli that probably share more from a cultural standpoint to several of the Palestinians outside the wall than they do share to the individuals that live in Tel Aviv or wherever else it may be with them.
Well, and that's a great point. And I would say that trust is developed. I would agree with you. And I think trust is developed based on the same cultural icons. So I can have a different religion than you, but live in the same country, and our culture is so similar that I'm going to trust you more than somebody who has my same religion in another culture.
But and that's what I wanted to go back to. Not to diminish your point, because your point's incredible, and it's absolutely right. But we're also more than 2,000 years from the basis of what Sapiens was talking about, right? And on top of that, one of the most. Let me do this from a religious perspective. If I asked you to vote based on most known name of a, call it, semi-real character in the past 2,000 years.
So what's a semi-real? Explain. Define that for me, please, before moving on.
You nor I nor anyone else can prove that this person would be real or factious.
Are we talking about
I don't know. We don't know yet. All right. Let me ask you
we
this
don't know.
question.
All right, fine.
So out of the 7.8 billion people on this planet, okay, if I were to ask who was the most known individual in all of history, and it may not be a true historic person, who would you pick?
Jesus.
Kristen?
Oh no.
Mickey
Sorry,
Mouse.
Muhammad.
No,
Wait, who Kristen say? What'd you say, Kristen?
Mickey Mouse.
Ooh, that's actually
Mike-
a pretty good fucking guess.
And Michael, you picked the third best.
So I would say Muhammad or Jesus.
No, your original one was the third best.
Right, Muhammad is the number one.
No.
Number
one, Ronald McDonald.
Ronald McFucking
Wow.
Donald. Kristen was on the right path.
She was. Yeah.
Well, because I know he still gets a percentage of the vote every presidential election. I don't think Ron does.
Jesus is third. Adolf Mouse is second.
Stop calling him Adolf Mouse. That is so rude. You
Have
live in
never
Orlando.
I hate what we've created in this
You love
fascist
Disney.
thing.
You
I
love
do not.
Disney.
I love their old movies.
You
I
just
will not-
said you
I
were
will not
a
support
passionate.
I will
think
not
we're-
support a company that kowtows to Winnie the Pooh.
What's wrong with Winnie the Pooh?
He's talking about
If you're listening-
Xi
Xi
Jinping.
Jinping, if you're listening to me right now, you can go fuck yourself.
If Xi Jinping is one of the 7 people that are still listening to this
You're
conversation,
phenomenal. Hey, I'll fuck your wife, bitch.
wow.
Our dear friend Alicia, who was on the podcast a couple weeks ago, she and her wife.
Thanos. Sorry, go ahead.
She and her wife were talking about the whole king-queen regime structure they have going on in Thailand and what's been on with it with the news recently and how
they're getting ready to change it up. They're getting ready to change it up, man.
Yeah. Anyway, they were talking about it and they just laughingly said, now we can never go to Thailand because it's illegal to speak badly of the king, I guess. That's the whole thing.
If I ever go to China, it will only be I'll fly into Mongolia to look at the Great Wall of China from the north, and I will find a wall or a hole in the wall, and I will walk into China as an unobscured Mongolian. I will do it. It's my goals, my Mon goals.
Scary goal.
As soon as you said your goals, I was like, he's gonna say it. He's gonna say, here it comes. Here it comes.
That being said, so let's talk. We've got 20 minutes left.
Yeah.
He's got so many bad puns ready to go. Do you use those on nieces and nephews?
Liam nieces.
Oh my God.
Liam nieces.
Jesus Christ.
your
wife. Hey, wait. Your wife is at it too. She said, "Did you read Mouse Comp?"
It's actually a real thing.
For real.
Yeah, it's called Mouse. It's
not
for all of it's. You've never seen it before?
So Mein Kampf, there's Mouse Comp.
For those of you who think that I'm just some horrible, offensive piece of shit, I have a plaque in the Seminole County Jewish Community Center because I wrote a decent poem when I was younger about the Holocaust, and they gave me a plaque.
Really?
Yeah, but the book Mouse, it's MAU with the umlaut S, is about the Gestapo attacking, obviously, Jewish mice because they called the Jews mice at the time. It's a really
rats, wasn't it? I thought they were rats, according to the.
No, I
There's mice. Okay.
well. There just happens to be the particular graphic novel,
Okay.
but it was written in I think in the 50s or the 40s even. I'm not certain,
Okay.
but it's very very pertinent to the Holocaust, and it's an incredible read if you ever get a chance to pick it up. But I was going to say, the last few minutes we got, let's talk about what we think about future cities.
Thank you. Yes, absolutely. We got 20 minutes left.
Yeah.
I think we should definitely get into
Yeah.
the future of cities.
So I mean, tell me what you think. I think the big deal. I'm with you. I think that picking places is important. I think the Middle East is going to be nothing in 100 years. The Middle East is going to be nothing in 100 years.
I definitely think that Europe will go a lot further. Europe and Asia will go much further with this idea than the United States or the Middle East, because
I don't think Asia will. They won't.
They've already constructed unbelievably large high rises at a super quick rate.
They will give power to their people. Asia will, or Europe will. We might.
All right, so
we are not good at sharing space at all.
Mexico and South America might surpass us.
All right, so what's your vision, Brooks?
So we've talked about this, and we're gonna have. So if our listeners, if you guys have never heard, my buddy, Garden Marcus, is an incredible individual, and we're gonna get him on here one of these days. He's a busy mofo, but the agricultural perspective for me, and I know you guys are doing this. I mean, you guys have your own little. It's not a garden quite, but you're doing some
it's a hydroponics.
We're on our first round. At this point, it's not high yield on any.
Well, it's only because I'm the only one who eats it.
Well, and you guys don't. You also don't own a high-rise complex yet, do you?
No.
Give us a year or two. We're gonna each have like 6 or 7 of those, and at that point in time, there's no reason not to do it. We're also only and I'll take bets. Anyone who's listening, all 7 who's still listening right now, or anyone who listens to this between now. It's 9/11/2020. I'll take this bet to the end of the year. Okay. 5 to 1 odds if I'm wrong. By 2015, we will have delicious clone meats.
Oh yeah, I agree, 100%.
Wait,
did you say by the end of 2020?
Science is very strong.
2025.
Oh, 2025, 100%. Sorry.
They could take my bet for the next 3 months, but in 5 years. I'll take 5 to 1 odds. So bet me $100. I'll owe you 500 in 5 years. But we'll easily have delicious clone meats. Go ahead, Chris.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
She agrees.
I agree. Yeah.
I also agree. I think cloned meat is going to be a huge part of the postmodern diet. Okay, go on. What's your next vision for the future of cities? And so let me know when it's my turn.
Oh, I've got so many. I'll do one more, and then it's your turn.
Okay.
We're changing how we irrigate agriculture.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think I sent you the link on this, Mike. It's the slow pour.
Mm-hmm. Drip.
The drip pour. Yeah. Takes less than 20% of the normal water.
What are we talking? Are we talking about hydroponics? What are we talking about? Aquaponics? What?
Yeah, he's just talking about drip watering.
Yeah, so instead of doing
interior, exterior,
it's exterior agriculture. But instead of doing
in fields now, they use large sprinklers, and it's very wasteful.
This goes straight down into the water, or straight down into the ground.
Yeah, I don't think the future of agriculture is going to be in the ground. But
no, it's going to be this way. No, I'm with you, but I'm talking short term.
Sure. I mean, we're always going to be improving, water execution. Yeah, I agree.
Let me ask you this. Are we going to put a city on Mars, or are we going to have a space station?
Yeah, we'll have a city on Mars. We'll have space stations. We'll have cities on Mars. Yep.
I don't think we're ever going to have a
city.
Your
guy's friend is going to have his own city on Mars, and he's going to sit there and watch us explode.
Who, Elon?
Yeah.
Elon's going to...
He's such a jerk. He picked a fight with Robert Reich this week. I thought that was amazing.
Fuck Elon.
I don't know. I'm still a fan, but
yeah, no, I mean he's doing good for my stock, but
yeah, because he's actually building things versus Warren Buffett, who's just making money off things. Anyway, go on. Just tell me when it's my turn.
I love that. No, hey, my big thing. Oh shit, Allison's naked. Allison, come here while you're naked. Sorry.
I don't think they allow that on YouTube or Facebook Live, but I guess they can't stop it.
Right. All right. So that was my question, though. Do you really think? Which do you think is the future? Do you think it's city on Mars? I think it's space station.
I don't think it's an if-then future. I think all of these things are going to happen.
That's a good point.
The question is when and how.
Oh, that's good. But I think, which do you think is the actual future stable population center for humanity?
No, I think it's going to be on Earth first. We're going to figure out. I mean, there's a lot of different variations of this. So we've a big problem that we're going to have to figure out is pandemics, because you can't have cities when we're constantly having pandemics, which we will be constantly having unless we figured that out. So that's a big part of our technological, our biotech response systems. We're gonna have
that's a good point. Go ahead, Kristen, please.
Well, the interesting idea about large cities, if we're dealing with large structural cities per the possible envisionment of Walt Disney, I lived on a cruise ship for a long period of time, and they have firewalls so that if part of the ship catches on fire, the firewalls close automatically and you can't catch the rest of the ship on fire. So theoretically, they could do that with cities if one part of the city became
long time is what you said you were on that.
So let me add on to what Kristen's saying. So if basically the future of cities, they're going to be smart cities. So the more concern we have for things like pandemics and
then you block off the lower socioeconomic neighborhoods and let them all die.
I mean, that depends on who's in charge, but hopefully it would be
not Trump. Okay.
It would just be to prevent the spread of disease, though.
I couldn't help myself, Mike. I apologize. Please go ahead.
So to Kristen's point, yes, we are going to need all right. So after 1918, the Spanish flu, we had to change the way our cities operate. So
go ahead.
So one of the things that we did in our cities was we created high temp burning furnaces, right?
Correct.
And so the reason we created high temp burning furnaces was so that we could keep our windows open throughout most of the day, so that we wouldn't be transferring so much of the viral content through the air. So that was one thing that happened in 1918 that actually had a negative effect overall in New York City, because now you're raising temperatures within these homes and it was becoming very dangerous. It was becoming a problem.
And expensive, right?
And expensive. So we had to. So now that we're in 2020, we have the ability to solve problems with technology so much faster. We need to be coming up with solutions based on foreseeable problems. And we can do that with algorithms. We can do that with smart data. The more data we collect, the more we can create contactless environments. For example, when you think of Star Trek and you walk up to the door and you go, shh, and it goes, shh, and it just opens. You don't touch the door. There's no handle. There's no nothing. It just opens. So we're going to see a lot more of that. We're going to see a lot more data collection within cities. People are going to be monitored wherever they go. And this is, if you're in QAnon, just give up. Go away. Just be done. No. I'm dead. No, I'm fucking, wait. I'm dead fucking serious. If you are afraid of technology tracking you and everything that's going on in life, you might as well leave civilization now, because that is where it's going.
Okay.
Like it or not.
However, you have a city like Portland that just passed the most pervasive anti-facial recognition ban in history.
Yeah, it's dangerous. I think that's more dangerous than what our potential future could be.
I strongly disagree.
I have to interrupt for a minute. Allison wrote, did you see the movie Smart House? Terrible idea. Is it based on Bradbury's The Veldt? Because that's my favorite short story.
Right. Well, it is and it isn't. But
okay.
Mike, no, I strongly disagree with you, man. No. Okay. Don't take my face. You can have that guy's face. He's all right. Other than that, no. I'd rather. I will full on Ron Swanson go back to the Middle Ages.
That's the thing. Like, you guys are so full of shit. Like, your
There's
faces,
only so far you can go. That's
we're literally podcasting. Our faces are recognized. Like, I don't understand.
That's why I don't like to even look at my own face when you ask me to go find sequences of how hilarious I am. I don't want to go look at it because.
Right. We're not going to talk about that. I'm not going to air dirty laundry right now. But what I will say is, if that's not something you guys want to do moving forward, then you're better off leaving civilization, because that's where it's going. I'm just saying.
Yes and no, but it ultimately, like, it should not be utilized by our government or police force.
Sure, I understand
that would be a great idea, but
here's what I'm saying. Here's what I'm saying. In 30 years, you're going to be driving down the street with your AR glasses on, and that billboard that's in the sky. You're not going to be driving your car. It's going to be a driverless car. You're going to see that billboard in the sky, and that billboard is going to reflect via your AR glasses, and that data is going to be following you, and you're going to get an individualized, targeted ad to you based on who you are driving down the street. That's going to be a fact. That's going to be
as long as at that point in time, 30 years from now, the individual creator of that ad is paying me my one Starbucks a day for opting in to their bullshit. That's fine.
And guess what? That's guess who wants that? Andrew Yang. Andrew Yang understands technology. Once you have people who actually understand technology and government, they're gonna be like, oh shit, we gotta allow people to opt in for their data. We gotta be paying them back a freedom dividend for that data.
That's right.
Et cetera,
That's
et cetera.
right. But I'm not being paid anything for it right now.
You're not being paid anything.
Neither you or anyone else. We all should be.
Well, I'm being paid because I have your data. But
because you're a marketer. You are the future of what everyone was so upset about attorneys 1,000 years ago and lobbyists. You are literally the heretic of the future. But
100%.
I believe in your ethics. I believe in your ethics. And I think you are moving us into a better future than other people could be.
Thank you. Because here's the thing, guys. It's either going to go one way or the other. Either you're going to go into a dystopian, you're going to go into a dystopian technology environment, or you're going to go into a utopian environment, or you can leave the system altogether. But the system will consume you. I promise you that. So
I agree with you. I agree with you on that. So what I'm saying, and this isn't even counterintuitive to what you're saying, but it's just a little bit different, is I think you were saying city on Mars. I think we go space station. I think we go space
Whatever.
Station.
That's just, it's not a binary choice.
Wait, you were talking about Mars? I thought you were talking about the moon.
There's nothing there. You can't
there's nothing on the moon.
There's nothing on Mars either. All right. So also, FYI, like, can I get a second? Can I get a second? All right. So here's the other thing.
If I may. No, go ahead.
Here's the other thing. In order for us to have our smartphones that we already have now and our smart cities of the future, it's going to be critical that we are able to mine heavy metals, important heavy metals that we use.
Heavy metal.
Right. So the problem is that we use extraordinary amount of fossil fuels. We use extraordinary amount of unsustainable pieces of energy that are going to harm our planet in the meantime. So in order to counteract that, we must be mining asteroids. We must be mining other space objects. And here's the other thing. This is going to be controversial. We need to be shooting our shit and our garbage into space.
Let me tell you this. Once upon a time, Brooks Lopez.
Look at Kristen's face. She's like, no. What the fuck is out there? What are you afraid of?
Once upon a time.
Do you shit where you sleep? Do you shit on your bed? No, you don't shit on your bed.
Once upon a time, I was 9 years old. Okay. Was that third grade? Something like that. Third grade.
Okay.
I lived in a popka. We had this little thing for my gifted class called the Invention Convention.
I remember
Okay.
that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. What'd you invent?
It wasn't really an invention so much as it was a process in which I believed that we would take our waste and shoot it right into a black hole.
Yeah. Fuck yeah.
Yeah, you told us about this.
Yeah. I know, but I stand behind it. Yeah.
I stand behind it too. Because
I'm too fatalistic. That ball of garbage is gonna come back and like blow your planet up. Like seriously.
It's gonna get spaghettified. Are you familiar with black holes?
I'm not familiar with black holes, nor is anyone actually.
Oh, that's a burn. She just burned you.
Hey, only because you said actually.
Watched the whole. What was the film I watched with you, Michael?
Kristen, your karmic fear. Your karmic fear is just that. It's a karmic fear. It's not a reality. Like the diameter of this planet compared to space in general.
Infinitesimal. I know.
So ridiculous. And who's our garbage gonna hurt in our solar system? Like, we
don't know. So like,
but if we shoot into a black hole, I
agree. No, I agree with Brooks on this one. I'm going Brooks.
Going black hole.
100% black hole.
Based.
Always bet on black.
Based.
I do not have
black based management.
I do not have the article sitting in front of me, but I've read it a couple of times along with the kids about how Joe, what's the city where they've developed the incineration to the point where they can basically incinerate, filter, and then put what little byproducts they get from the waste into a water sustainment?
The charcoal waste and the use of charcoal to filter it. Listen, Christian, I'm not talking about tomorrow. I'm not talking about 10 years from now. I'm talking about once. Hey, and here's my other one. Tell me what you guys think about this. Half of Earth becomes a zoo.
Oh, we've had this conversation before, but go on.
No. I have a, and then we will put this in the show notes. I have a researched, planned thought process of half of Earth becoming a zoo.
Welcome to the monkey house.
First off, we're killing all chimpanzees before this happens. You know my thoughts on chimpanzees.
I do. Yes, they have the potential to.
I think we're about to know your thoughts on Vonnegut.
No. Just chimpanzees. Orangutans, I love them. Gorillas, love them. Chimpanzees.
Chimpanzees are assholes because they're us.
Oh, no, they eat faces. I don't eat faces.
You were literally bragging
about
eating faces.
Orangutans don't eat faces. They're like the size of a tank.
Brooks was literally bragging about eating faces like an hour and a half ago.
I will eat your organs. I will not eat your face. And Kristen, if you ever say that about orangutans again, I know where you live. Okay. That's not nice.
I love them. They're ginormous and very, very strong.
I will come over there and I will hug the crap out of you. And I'll ask you to pour me a nice mild drink because I won't threaten you because you're too sweet for that. But
so I'm just gonna throw this down while you're looking that up. My vision of the future is the 15-minute city. You're gonna live, work, and play from where you are. It's gonna be a smart city. There's gonna be everything's gonna be contactless. You're gonna do everything with your apps and your voice. It's going to be pretty free. Now,
I don't want that at all.
Live in the fucking woods. What do I care?
And if you test for a fever, there's going to be a comic book spring that'll just launch you out of the city.
Into a black hole.
Into a black hole. There you go.
That's how I became Deadpool the first time.
Oh my god. Oh my god. I thought this was going to be a serious episode, but I was wrong.
When is it?
You brought up the Jetsons in the write-up, so
I did not. It was not.
Brooks
It was not the
did.
Jetsons.
Brooks brought up the Jetsons.
And Epcot.
Well, no, Epcot's an important part of the conversation.
But the Jetsons clearly aren't.
Well, I mean, sure. Any story that had that any story that is in our collective subconscious is going to affect the future. There's no doubt about that. Look at
And hey, you know what? I'll sell one out for everybody. Go watch Dune when it comes out.
Got it. I got it. Don't look at me like that. Don't give me that look.
Have you seen the trailer?
I'm gonna watch it.
So, clear me if I'm wrong here, because I was never a big Dune fan, but the sci-fi, the books are supposed to be amazing, yes, but then the first films that were made absolutely sucked, yes? Is that
the 80s ones are
okay.
It's nostalgia. People love it for nostalgia.
But Mike, if you read the 5 books from Dune, from Frank Herbert, the original ones, they are incredibly insane. Okay. More insane than the initial 5 books from George R. Martin that initiated the, call it, pandemic of Game of Thrones. All right.
Okay.
Star Wars being a non-novel based.
Yeah, I've only seen rough bits from some of the films from Dune.
The 80s film is absolutely nuts. I mean, it makes no sense. The books don't make much more sense, but I mean, a little bit.
All right, are you guys going to give your final prediction before we wrap this show up?
Yeah, here's my prediction. We are going to go back into small tribalistic spaces in the next 25 years. However, laugh all you want to. Laugh all you want to. They will be in major city centers. So I'll take that bet. 2045. You'll just still be alive.
You're talking about Greektown and Chinatown, and yeah.
No, in 25 years from now, 2045.
2045. Go on. Okay.
We'll be literally living in coalesced neighborhoods within larger city centers.
Oh yeah, no, that's what I said. 15-minute cities. Yeah, I agree with you.
So then, why are you laughing at me?
Because I thought you were saying we were going to be in these like tribes out in the middle of nowhere, and I don't think that's the case. I think we're going to be. Sense. Okay. All right. Well, maybe you should fucking explain it better.
Maybe you should listen.
Better.
I wasn't going to say that. I'll still take your bet, though. Here's my big thing. Here's our big bet, right? Is the largest. Give it 30 years. You'll still be alive. You'll be like 110, but you'll still be alive.
Okay.
30 years from now, will the first major non-Earth plantation or home group, will it be on Mars or will it be in a space station?
Who's whispering right now?
Joe.
Okay, my daughter thinks it's going to be in a space station. I don't think you could fit enough people in a giant space station. No, I think it'll be Mars.
All right, I'm taking space station.
Like the Enterprise, right? But like a station.
No, it's totally be a space station.
All right. So we'll see what technology is. Speaking of technology, Tom says, "Can we get Brooks and Kristen better cameras? Mike looks amazing, while Kristen and Brooks look like they're using cameras used to take pics of Bigfoot. Sorry about that. We are working on all technologies, high and low."
I mean, Mike does look amazing, but that says nothing about us. That's like a different thing.
It's just my camera. My camera's better.
It's the camera. So we have another camera that we haven't set up.
Yeah, we'll get it set up, and we're coming. I'm coming to Brooks's house because we're gonna do a whole fucking studio setup. Like I'm coming over there, Brooks, and we're gonna do some work.
I've got this whole thing, but hey, between this and everything else, it is 75 out of 100 picks that Joe Biden wins the election now. So anybody who wants to take outside bets on that, send me a message on Facebook.
Are you taking bets? Are you taking bets in the election?
Yeah, I'm taking outside bets. Yeah.
Are you? That's interesting.
I don't bet, but I am quite concerned.
Taking bets.
Well, so that means the fact that Kristen's concerned means that she thinks Trump is going to win.
Yeah.
I'm still a coin flip away. I actually think it's closer to 60-40, but that's just yeah. So and remember the same thing you're looking at is the same thing that we had in 2016 when we had a 13% chance of victory for Trump, according to Nate Silver. So
and Nate adjusted his
algorithm.
Thank you. However, I'm betting against myself. I really want to see Donald Trump win the presidency.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do. If it was a personal opinion, I would, because the Senate and the House are going to be blue. And watching him shoot himself in the face in the Oval Office would be the greatest thing I could ever.
So what you're saying is that selfishly you want somebody to make fun of for the next 4 years.
No, he will die in the first year. He will shoot himself in the brains. He will, or eat enough cheeseburgers to blow his heart out. Whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. That's not a bet I want to take.
Talking about cities. America is the weirdest nation besides China in the world for its population density. China has an East Coast population density. We have two coasts. We are uninvasible. Is that a word? Uninvasible. You can't invade us, right? You can't.
Depends.
No.
No. If China was allied with Mexico and Canada, you could invade us.
Strongly disagree.
Okay.
Well,
I mean, you're right. We have so many more nukes and weapons, so we could just blow everything up. Anyway, let's wrap this up because I got nothing left.
The cities of the future will not be on Earth.
They'll be on a space station.
They'll be on Arrakis in Dune.
Cheers.
Hey, love you guys.